All right, Skinny Deal Profit, module number 2, contacting the seller. I'm buying, I'm selling. My kids got a kick out of this one. I don't know why. All right, so you found a property. What do you do next? So you can talk to the neighbors, skip trace. We're going to go into the conversations, negotiations, and follow-up. So this is what we're going to talk about during this next module. So talking to the neighbors. This is the 5-point contact. So you have your subject property. You have property number 1, property number 2, kitty corner, straight across, and the other one. You guys know what this is? No, it's an ape, dude. It's a gorilla. All right. So 5-point contact. This is crucial. I find a lot of information just by doing this. If you try to skip trace them, you can't find them, neighbors are exactly where to know. They know a lot. In fact, I was talking to a group of guys at lunch, and I mentioned that we're talking about keeping track of your miles and stuff like that. Annually, we go to Disneyland as a family. And guess what I'm doing in between days at Disneyland? Driving for dollars. Now my trip down there is justified. So my mileage down there is a complete write-off because I'm looking for property down there as I'm there. Crazy thing, though, is it just happened to be that this is the truth, the reality. Last year on our way to Disneyland, we stopped in Visalia because that's the halfway point. That's where my folks live. Across the street is a house, and then, so my folks live on the street just like this, and then there's a corner house, and around there's another house. And my dad goes, oh yeah, I think the lady's in a rest home or something like that. She's just not there or whatever. So I'm like, well, great, let's go walk the property. He said, no, we can't do that. Neighbors will get mad. I want the neighbors to come out. I want to talk to them. So I go and I walk the property, and neighbors didn't come out. Dad's like, come on, stop that. You're embarrassing me. Some things just don't change. And so I go in and knock on the door. First door I knocked on. I said, hey, I'm interested in buying this house. Do you know what happened to the old lady? Of course, I didn't say the old lady. I said her name because I looked at the information. I had it right there. And I can't remember her name. But they said, oh, yeah, she's living with Bill, her son. I was like, oh, great, okay. I'm interested in buying this house. Do you happen to have Bill's phone number? Hang on real quick. Let me go grab it. Goes inside, comes back out, gives me Bill's phone number, his cell phone. Oh, yeah, Bill and my husband have been friends for years. He grew up in this house. They've been friends for about 40 years. Oh, perfect. So I called up Bill. Doesn't answer, so I send him a text message. Keep this in mind. Whenever you call somebody and they don't answer, text them the exact same thing. So I leave the voicemail. Hey, this is Ryan. I'm interested in your mom's house. Give me a call back. Doesn't call me back, so I text him. Hey, Bill, this is Ryan. And I also name drop. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Travis. He was the electrician that was next door. Travis gave me your name and your number. He said you might be interested in selling your mom's property. So now all of a sudden, I'm not a solicitor. I'm like, oh, you know Travis? Okay, cool. Yeah, Travis referred you? Yeah, for sure. So now I'm like, have this personal familiarity. So I contact him. This is on a Tuesday. We're taking off. We're going down to Disneyland. He texts me back and says, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll show you the property. So he ends up showing us the property. But I texted him and said, oh, I'm on my way to Disneyland. I'll call you on my way back into town, and I'll look at the house. So we came, looked at the property, and I ended up buying that property from that trip. So that whole trip was a complete write-off. The crazy thing was I asked him, I said, why did you, of all the people, because he told me in the conversation, he's like, oh, I got postcards. Everyone wants to buy this house. Everyone does. And I said, of all the people, why did you ask me? Or why did you let me buy the house from you? Two things. One, you knew Travis. And two, you text me. Everyone else just calls and hangs up. I went the extra mile, which wasn't really an extra mile. It was like a couple of steps to the neighbor's house. Super easy. So this year, on our way back from Visalia, we ended up closing a deal with Rusty and Gwen. So it just like my Visalia trip was becoming very profitable. So I told my wife, like, we cannot not go to Disneyland every year. We have to go to Disneyland because we always end up buying property in Visalia.
You got the votes in the house. I mean, everybody's going to say yes to that one.
That's right, yeah. So the point, though, is neighbors. If I wouldn't have talked to Travis's wife, the electrician Travis's wife, I would have never got Bill's phone number, and I never would have been able to close on that property. Neighbors know a lot of information. Just like you said, Who was the one that said that it was you, right? The neighbor was telling you all that information.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, across the street there, a guy and his girlfriend were working on their yard, putting a new fence out the front. They saw me with my son, and I started looking at him. They like gave me this look, like, "Come on over, we want to talk to you."
You know that look, yeah.
Because I was looking at the house, and so I walked over there, and then they told me everything on this, and the ex-wife of the owner and all that, and then they started talking about the ex-wife over the phone and getting info from her.
Oh man.
Yeah. I had one where I was taking a look at, writing down some information on the house. I'm in the car, and you sometimes you get that feeling someone's staring at you. And this lady looked at me like this. I go, "Can I help you?" "No." "What are you here for?" And I told her. She goes, "You for real?" And then after I got out talking with her, I was like, "Oh, here, come on."
I had one lady one time. This is in South Sac. And I'm driving for dollars. Oh my gosh. Hang on. I'll tell you this story in a minute, though. I'll tell you a different story. Because it deals with finding properties. Have you guys all seen my video of the one where I'm out there and the girl's like, "Hey, what's up, honey? You gonna buy me? Can you give me some drug money or some beer money?" How many of you don't know that story? Okay. So I'm in South Sac, and I'm driving around. I'm looking for property. This is a great way to find property. Because we talked about homeless people. Did they know where it's at? Well, this is even better, guys. So I'm driving, and I pull up in front of this house, and I'm like, this house needs to be like dozed over, man. It's like we call them D9 properties. You know those D9 Caterpillars? I mean, you just need to just knock these things over. So anyway, this house is just trash beyond trash. And this lady comes out. She's probably like 19 or 20 maybe. And she's just like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, dude. I'm totally cool. Like, I'm married." And and she's like, what did she say to me first? She's like, "Do you have any money for cigarettes?" I'm like, "No, I don't need money." She's like, "Well, buy me some weed." I'm like, "No, I'm not buying you some weed. Like, get away from my car, And then finally she goes, "Well, how about some alcohol money? Buy me some booze. Give me some beer." And I'm like, "Look, I'm working, and I'm not going to support your habits. And you see my truck? It says I buy houses." And this whole time, I didn't even notice. And she pulls out this piece of paper. There's like this folder, and it's from Chicago Title. And she's like, "Well, this is my house here. My mom just died, and she willed it to me. And I don't know what to do with it, but I don't want to sell it." And I'm like, oh my gosh. So actually, I get out, and I walk the property with her. And I'm like, this house is just like, I realize there's all kinds of issues. Her mom died. It was her aunt's property who died in like 1982. And her mom just ended up living there. And when her mom died, it just like the taxes, everything was just a huge mess. So finally, I go, "Look, you know what? I appreciate your time." She's like, "Well, just give me a couple of bucks. I need to go buy some beer." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do this." She goes, I'm like, I'm going to like get in my car, and I'm going to drive off, and I'm going to go look for some houses because that's what I do. I buy houses. I'm looking for vacant pre-foreclosure houses or just whatever. And she goes, "Well, I know all the vacant houses here in this neighborhood. I grew up here. I pretty much know everything." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, that house right across the street." Literally, I looked across the street. There's bars on it. There's a tree like leaning over against the house. I go, "What's wrong with this house?" She goes, "It's been vacant for like years, as long as I know." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, there's like 10 more like this in the neighborhood." I'm like, "Get in the car." So we get there in the car, and we're driving around for probably about 45 minutes. And I found about 18 properties. These are the ones that I gave you. I don't know if anything ever came of them or not.
Not yet. I've contacted all the phone numbers I found associated with it.
Perfect.
I gotta do it again. And
Yeah.
haven't heard back on anything. But
Well, that's all right. So, I mean, you'll get something out of it, I'm sure. So anyway, this girl, I told her, I said, "If you show me all the houses in the neighborhood, I'll give you $5 or $6 for some beer." So she jumped in and showed me all the properties. But I made her work for it. So we went and saw all these houses. So anyway, yeah. Homeless people that are looking for, money to support their habit, they could be a great resource to finding these properties, especially when you're in the ghetto. So, don't know if I would do that again. Thinking twice about it now, I'm like, I don't know, man. They can say the wrong thing, like, "Oh, he touched me inappropriately," and all of a sudden, there goes your business, man. So,
She hops in, the cops roll up. "Oh, hey, buddy."
yeah, right? Yeah, seriously, yeah. Sting operation. So, all right. I forgot what I was going to tell you to remind me of, but I forgot what it was. That was that story. But, oh, yes. So in that same neighborhood, different day. A house is going into foreclosure. I don't know if someone's living there or not. There's a car parked in the driveway, but the engine's removed. And all the tires are gone. So I'm like, I don't know what this house is. I'm walking around, I'm skeptical. I'm really hesitant to go inside. This is before I started taking my Kung Fu to build my confidence up. So I'm just like, okay, there's like a stick outside somewhere. I don't even know. So I'm walking back, and this lady comes out from across the street. She's not like a casual walk. It's not just like a, oh, hey, come over here, let's talk. She's like, I'm like, oh, dude, okay. She's like coming straight for me. She's like beelining it. So I'm like, oh, crap. And she's not threatening or anything, but she definitely could hold her own, if you know what I mean.